Hello everybody, welcome to another Fun in 5. Bringing you today Orleans. This is a game by Rainer Stockhausen. I think it's the only game by him that I've played, but I thoroughly enjoyed the game. We played it with the family quite a few times. Haven't tried the expansion yet, but we do have it. But let's tell you why I think this game is fun. First off, this is a bag building game, and a bag builder, I've done one other video on a bag builder. It was called Quacks of Quedlinburg. I believe this was made before then, but what you do is you're gathering and acquiring different tokens that represent different work and medieval classes, I guess you could say, back in the day. And those are going to help you build up your tableau and start earning victory points and acquiring goods and such. So what's really neat is that you get to decide what kind of goods you're going to, or what kind of workers you're going to acquire. So you might want to go heavy with knights so you can get a certain amount of your board developed, or you may want farmers, or you may want monks. There's all kinds of different classes that you can acquire and build your bag. And there are certain ways that you can kind of call your bag or discard tokens. So you really get to manipulate the chances of you drawing different tokens and your ability to progress through your board and acquire certain things. So that's the first thing, is building a bag can be fun, much like a deck builder, but with tokens in a bag, you're still blindly drawing. The mechanism just works a little bit different. Second thing I like is the action selection / worker placement aspect of the game. So as you build your bag and you can acquire these tokens, you'll be putting them on your board to try to accomplish certain actions. So I may want to send 3 people to university. I'll show you what that looks like on the screen here. I may want to send people to the village to get extra certain tokens. I may want to send people to the monastery to get more of these monk characters because they're like a wild token and can be treated as any token. So there's all kinds of different reasons I may want to use the actions on my board, but I may also have other actions I can take. And so that combination of picking a place to go, which creates an action, and using them as workers to do such, it's a fun element of the game because I can map my turn out ahead of time, knowing what's going to be in my bag, and planning that out is really cool. Third thing I like is the buildings, and that kind of ties into action selection because you're actually creating your own action selection spots by creating these buildings. You have to have these different builder guys, and when you acquire a builder guy, you can acquire a building, and these buildings are only accessible to you. So if I build this hayrick or if I build this brewery, nobody else can benefit from that. So it gives me a permanent extra action spot or worker placement spot for me to play with. And that could really turn in my favor if I've got my right engine building happening. And if you progress, as long as you've acquired a level 1 building, then you are allowed to start building level 2 buildings. And there's only 5 of those, so a very limited amount. If you're playing a multiplayer game, these may be highly coveted. So I like that aspect of it, that you can build out your own tableau to have even more spots and more decisions and more strategies to pursue. So that's the buildings. Fourth thing I like is the development track. So you can see here on this big board, I'll pull it up, but each player is going to progress on this track using little cubes, and each time they do, they may acquire a gear that'll make their board easier to use, they may acquire another worker, they may acquire extra buildings, they may acquire extra money, or even more development on the bottom of the board that can get them more points. Every single thing you do on this track influences your progression in the game, and it's neat to watch because it's almost like a race for some of them. The first person who gets to this one would get this point. The first one who gets to the 8th night basically has the most knights because the tokens can be a limited resource. So it's really neat to watch the tracks progress and see how different people plan ahead, I guess you could say. Like the person in the lead with the farmer will get extra resources, and the person that's furthest behind will have a penalty. So you always have to watch what's going on every track to know if you're going to benefit or suffer in some cases, or be able to develop your own bag as well as you need to. There's more to it than that. There's so much to this game, it's hard to explain it all, but that's one thing I like about the development track. And then the last part is the city board. So the city board, I'll pull that up as well, but throughout this entire board, you may have part of your strategy is to explore as much as you can, because the more you explore, the more resources you get, and the more resources you get, the more you can trade them in for victory points at the end of the game, or if you have certain buildings, you may benefit from them. So you progress through, and you can travel on roads or on rivers. You can place these buildings on the board. So it's kind of neat because you're playing with your board, you're playing with this board, you're playing with this board, and kind of I talk about the city board. The city board is actually two things. There's the map, which is a bunch of cities, I guess you could say, and then there's this development track, which is another thing I love. It's almost like number 6 kind of tied in, because not only can you build your own board up, you can send people here by permanently calling them out of your bag and developing this board to get extra point characters, citizens that support you, and extra coins. It's really dynamic how this board works, and this board works in tandem with your own personal board. I've never played a game quite like this with so many different moving parts, and even though you're not attacking your opponents, you do have every one of your actions can impact your opponents. If you're the first to build a building, if you're the first to build a portion of the city or develop a portion of the city, if you're the first on a track. So because of all those interactions that are kind of subtle but there, it makes for a very elaborate game and a really neat game to play. So I had a lot of fun learning and playing Orleans. Every time we get it to the table, we enjoy it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the expansion does bring. Although a game like this honestly doesn't even need an expansion. So if it makes it even better, I'll be very surprised because it's already a fantastic game. So I'd highly recommend it. Give it a try, or just watch a couple videos on it and see what you like about Orleans. Take care. Thanks.